Every town has a whisper, a story folks tell in low voices, over mugs of steaming coffee at the local diner. A memory wrapped in legend, somewhere between truth and myth. In the little hamlet of Ellensbrook, tucked between the golden hills of upstate New York, that whisper came with 4 legs, wise eyes, and a silvering muzzle. Her name was Rosie. Every evening, as reliably as the sun dipped behind the birch trees lining Maple Hollow Road, Rosie sat at the old white gate, just outside the farmhouse on Willow Bend Lane. Her coat, once deep mahogany and charcoal, had faded into a muted gray tapestry. Her tail, bushy once, now curled gently over stiff haunches. But her eyes, oh, her eyes, they never lost their edge. Clear amber, scanning the road, as if reading the future. Children riding their bikes would slow down to wave. Hi, Rosie." She never turned her head, not out of rudeness. She simply had a job to do, a post to keep, a duty to fulfill. Even the mailman, Ted, who'd been delivering to that road for 20 years, made a point to drop a treat through the slats of the fence each Tuesday and Friday. "Still waiting, huh, girl?" he'd murmur. She'd accept the biscuit politely, but never let her gaze leave the bend in the road, where tires sometimes crunched into view. No one truly knew how long she'd been waiting. Some said 5 years, others swore it was 10. The youngest children of Ellensbrook couldn't even remember a time without Rosie at that gate. She was as much a fixture as the town clock tower or the general store's creaky front porch swing. But old Miss Lillian knew. She remembered everything. Now 92, and mostly confined to her floral armchair, Lillian always made sure the bowls by the gate stayed full. One with water, one with kibble. On good days, she shuffled down herself. On bad ones, young Daisy from the corner helped. Rosie never left her post. But if Lillian called out in that soft, crooning voice, "Sweet girl, you're a good girl," Rosie's ears would twitch, and her tail would thump against the gate twice. That was all the thanks she ever gave, back when her legs were strong and her ears upright. Rosie hadn't belonged to Lillian, nor to anyone on the lane. She belonged to Sergeant Daniel Boone, retired Army, quiet as a snowstorm, and gentle with his hands, despite everything they'd done. The townsfolk called him Boone, or Sarge, although he never asked them to. He'd moved into the old farmhouse with a box of books, a toolbox, and Rosie. That was 12 years ago. Boone had adopted Rosie when she was still in training. Barely past her first birthday, she had the drive, the nose, and most of all the heart. They'd done 2 tours together overseas. She was his partner, his protector, and once his savior, dragging him out from rubble after an explosion crushed part of their barracks. "She's not just a dog," Boone once told Lillian, when she'd offered a slice of pie on his porch. "She's my soul with fur." But Boone had ghosts. Not the kind with chains or wailing, just the quiet kind. The kind that settle in your bones and whisper at night. One fall morning, about 6 years ago, Boone got a call. He told Lillian he had to leave for a VA treatment program downstate. "Won't be long," he'd said. Week, maybe 2. He packed a small bag, left 2 days of food out, gave Rosie a long, aching look and said, "Hold the fort." Then he was gone, and he never came back. Some say it was the trauma. Others guessed he'd gotten lost inside his own mind, as some old soldiers do. A few whispered that maybe he'd passed quietly, in a hospital bed, nameless and unclaimed. But Rosie didn't believe that. You could see it in the way she watched the road, not aimlessly, but with intent. Not for just any car, but one, the old Chevy, the one with the left blinker that always stuck, the one that groaned slightly before it stopped. She remembered every rustle of leaves, every whistle of wind through the trees, every autumn that painted the lane in gold. She waited through all of it. Snow piled high against the white gate each winter, and Rosie stood amid it, tail stiff, body firm with purpose. Spring rains turned the road to mush, and still she came. One summer the heat grew cruel. Her paws cracked, her coat thinned, but she stayed. People brought her blankets. A small shelter was built just inside the fence, but she never went far, never crossed into the yard, not until she saw him. There was something unshakable in her loyalty. It moved people. It made teenagers take photos. It made travelers pause and ask questions. It made strangers weep when they realized why she sat there, day after day. "She's waiting for her soldier," Ted the mailman would say. And everyone would nod, because some things don't need proof. You can feel the truth in your chest. Years passed. Children became teenagers. Miss Lillian grew frailer, and Rosie grayed into a soft, spectral version of herself. Her legs ached, her ears drooped, but her spirit never did. Then came the quiet autumn morning. A soft fog curled across the fields, like breath on glass. Leaves crunched under tires, as a long-forgotten hum stirred the air. Rosie was already at the gate. She'd been there since dawn. The sound grew louder. Around the bend came a car. Not just any car. That car, the old Chevy, rust-lined, limping on its shocks, but unmistakable. The left blinker still stuck. Rosie stood, not just shifted or lifted her head. She stood tall. Taller than she had in years. Her legs shook, but she held steady. The car pulled to a stop. The door creaked. Out stepped a man, leaning on a cane. His hair was white now. His hands, once firm, trembled. But when he looked up, when his eyes met hers, he gasped. It took a moment, a long, trembling moment. Then, "Rosie!" She didn't bark. She didn't run. She walked, slow, deliberate, every step burning, but she walked. He knelt, barely painfully, and opened his arms. Rosie reached him. She pressed her face into his palm. His fingers sank into her fur, and for a long, sacred moment, the world stopped. They stayed like that. Man and dog, memory and heartbeat, wrapped in something stronger than time. Lillian saw it from her window. Tears welled up and rolled down her cheeks. "He came back," she whispered. She knew he would. Boone held her for a long time, mumbling through tears. "I'm sorry, girl. I didn't know. I didn't remember, but I do now. I remember everything." Rosie's body trembled, not from age, but from something like joy. Her tail thumped, her heart beat steady and strong. The townsfolk gathered slowly. Ted left his route. Daisy held her mother's hand. Even the teenagers stood still. No phones, no jokes, just reverence. Rosie and Boone sat by the gate for hours, and when the sun dipped low behind the birch trees, she leaned against him, gave a soft, contented sigh, and closed her eyes. She was gone before nightfall, but not alone. Boone stayed there, arms wrapped around her, tears lost in the folds of her fur. He buried her beneath the oak tree beside the gate, marked the spot with a flat stone that read, "Rosie, the goodest girl. She held the line until I found my way home." Boone stayed in the farmhouse after that, quietly, simply. He didn't say much, but he planted flowers by Rosie's resting place, told Lillian he'd take care of the gate. Each evening, he sat on the porch, sometimes with a cane, sometimes with a book, always watching the road. And now the whisper in Ellensbrook has changed. She waited for him, they say, but he came back, and she knew he would. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of love that never dies, even when the world forgets, even when time tries to erase it. Some hearts just wait, and some roads always lead home. Would you wait like Rosie did? Let your heart answer that, because some gates are meant to be watched, and some promises are kept, even after all the years.